All right, it's Twist Face Day, baby. So we had a chance to hit this just very briefly. We're talking about the M3 and the M4 by TaylorMade. We hit it briefly at the PGA show, got a couple swings in, but today we're gonna put it through the full work. We're gonna look at the difference between the M3 and the M4. It's February 16th, still way too cold here in New Jersey, so we're at one of our favorite spots, the PGA Superstore in Paramus, New Jersey. We're gonna put it on the simulator, we're gonna run through these things, but man, I'd say, Mike, this is probably one of the most anticipated drivers.
Yeah, big time.
Easily. I mean, going along, we hit the Cobra King F8, right? We got the Callaway Rogue coming out, but I got to think the M3, M4 goes up there with most anticipated drivers, right?
Oh yeah, big time. And like you said, we hit it down at the PGA show, but we only hit it like 10 or 15 times.
That's it.
So today I'm looking forward to hitting it about 50, 60 times.
That's right. So we're going to put it through the full paces. So let's take a quick look at the difference here, and we'll let you guys know what we think. All right, so what we want to do first, let's talk about the similarities, and then we'll jump into talking about some of the differences between the M3 and the M4, because that's what we're looking at. That's what we're going to be, looking at the differences here. So first, similarity-wise, the big name, everybody hears it, Twist Face. All right, so everybody's been talking about that, and let's just go, first of all, dispelling a little bit of a rumor. A lot of people think that that's a very brand new thing. In reality, it's kind of a take on something called bulge and roll. So where you may have thought that prior to this, all driver club faces were completely flat, completely straight, that's just not a reality. They've always had some sort of movement to them. That's what I call that bulge and roll. What TaylorMade did, is a new twist on that to change that up, is actually they analyzed millions of data points, which is what I love, is that these are the things we can start to do now that we can gather data. I think they used Foresight, that new 4 camera. So they're able to analyze millions of data points from different amateur swings to see where people were mishitting it. And so they saw on the toe and different places like that. So what they did is they took that bulge and roll and they just kind of twisted it to hone that in on spots where they feel like they're going to get the most effect out of it. So both the M3 and the M4 feature the twist face. The other thing they both feature are that hammerhead technology. Okay, so there again is where you're seeing a lot of driver companies are still always working to try to get that face as thin as possible, because that's where you're going to get your power from. We tested the Cobra King F8 here just a couple weeks ago. We saw they're using CNC milled to make sure they can get that driver face really thin. Here they're using that hammerhead technology. So we're seeing a lot of people doing similar types of things. It's shifting the weight around, like the Callaway Rogue, which we're going to be testing soon too. So those are your primary similarities between the two. Difference-wise, the M3 is going to replace the M1, and the M4 is going to be replacing the M2. The M3 is adjustable, so you can see those adjustments there. All right, and because of the slide tracks and where they put them, you have a lot of adjustment there. You can move that weight back pretty far for further back center of gravity. You can also see where you can have the fade and draw, so that's going to be a lot of customization. The M4 does not have that customization. The only customization there is in the hosel adjustments. All right, so that's your big difference there. Because it's not adjustable, the M4 is lighter. It's about 15% lighter. They're saying that this is going to be their most forgiving club. Okay, so if you're looking for a little bit more forgiveness, this is probably going to be the club for you. If you're looking for some more adjustability, the M3 is most likely the club for you. But as with anything, and we always suggest this on the podcast, if you're in between the two, come down wherever you can. If you have access to like a PGA Tour Superstore or somewhere like that where you can hit both of them, hit them both. But generally speaking, if you're looking for a little bit more forgiveness, if that's where your game is at, you're going to want to do with the M4. Specifically with the M4, they design it largely for people with a slice where they've put some of that weighting. So Mike can't wait to hit you. There you go. So I'll tell you what, the good news is, like we say on the podcast all the time, we're not pros. We're hackers like you guys. So if there's anybody who's been more qualified to see if a club is forgiving, I don't think there is that person. That's going to be us. So we're going to hit a bunch of them. We're going to see how forgiving this is. Like I said, beyond that, all the usual TaylorMade technology, the carbon fiber top, the weight, the aerodynamics, it's all built in. They build one upon the other. But here we have, like I said, that twist face is the big name. That's the big thing everybody's talking about. So let's take some strokes.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Let's do it, and let's see what this thing looks like.
M3, standard law.
Mike's got that M3 in his hands, testing that out first. Just standard adjustment right now. We haven't moved anything yet just yet.
So far, so good. I mean, I like the weight of it. Now, this is the lighter one, correct?
M3 is a little bit heavier.
This is the
actually.
heavier one. I'm sorry.
The
This is the
M4
heavier
is lighter because no adjustment.
Wow, really? Okay, so I'm curious to see what the 4 feels like after this.
Yep. I'll tell you what, sometimes we talk about the sound of a club. It's got a good sound. You know, right now he's hitting the M3. I like the sound, nice solid feel to it. One thing I'm always worried about when you get a really adjustable club is stuff kind of like moving around, moving parts. But I'm not seeing that. Really solid sound. Mike, you feel solid?
It does feel solid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's important with this. We're keeping the adjustment just right where it comes, just no adjustment yet, just to see kind of what it does.
Ten swings under your belt. What are your initial thoughts?
You know, oddly, I feel like it feels a little bit heavier than what I'm used to.
Okay.
It's still a light club, but it just feels a little bit heavier than what I'm used to. That's just a very initial impression. Forgiveness-wise, yeah, I can see how it's trying to forgive my usual hook. I'm trying to work a little bit off of that. What I'd really like to do, if I could, is put some tape on this and just kind of see where I'm hitting, because it's not really showing up on the face that well. I'd like to see where I'm hitting to see how much that twist face is moving it back. That's something I'd like to try at some point, but take a few more cuts and see how it goes. All right, so we each got about 25 swings under our belt with the M3. Before we get too worn out, let's jump over to the M4 and then we'll go back and see what the difference is. So I've yet to hit the M4, but hitting the M3 so far, good overall feeling. Mike is working on that M4 right now. I know he's in between the clubs. He was interested originally in an M2 last season, so this would be that direct comparison. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he thinks.
See, what I'm noticing though, even my miss hits are still getting distance. I'm still hitting it about, I mean, my average drive, a good drive would be about 275, 280 when it's dead straight. Even my miss hits are getting the distance of like 255, 260. You know, granted, it's going to be a little right of the fairway, but
right.
I'm liking that.
All right, M4 time. You know what I did? I didn't bring my club, so I forgot my glove, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right, like 3 swings in, I'm already hitting this club a lot better than I hit the M3. personally, I've never been a huge adjustment guy. Like I'm into getting, you know, fitted when you get the club originally, but I'll forego the adjustments for the forgivability. Again, here I'm a mid-level handicapper, that's just what works for me, but I'm finding this right off the bat to be a little bit more forgiving, feels a little bit better for me.
Yeah, he's liking this one.
M4 would be my
right.
All right, while Mike jumps back on that M4, one thing I want to just say right off the bat and kind of dispel is the twist face is not a miracle cure. If you're thinking that that twist is going to bring every shot back to center, you're going to be setting yourself up for a disappointment. It's not that. I mean, don't forget, they got to work within what the USGA is going to allow. So it's not something that's so dramatic it's going to fix every miss hit. However, that being said, I am noticing when you're off center by a bit, it is helping bring it back towards the middle. Mike plays a little bit more of a slice. I play a little bit more of a hook on my miss hits. So those are turning those a little bit more into fades and draws. But again, don't expect a miracle cure out of it. It's not something like that. And to be honest with you, if it was something that they were pitching as a miracle cure, my like gimmick alarms would be going off. So I'm not seeing that, and that I think almost is a good thing. So again, it's not a miracle cure, it's not a magic bullet, but it is a nice little improvement, nice little change. I like to see them implementing it, so we're gonna keep hitting it.
So like I did with the F8, taking the loft down a little bit. Reads a 10.5, but actually on this you could take it down to a lower loft from the standard. Let's give it a shot.
So now what Mike is saying is just hitting both. Now switching quickly back to the M3, you do see a little bit of a difference in that weight, right?
Yeah, it definitely feels heavier.
Yeah. Now don't forget, guys, we're talking about grams here. It's nothing like dramatic, but once you get both in your hands and you swing side by side, you do feel a little bit. Some people like a little bit of a heavier club, fine, but again, it's going to come into, because of that adjustability, there's a little bit more moving parts, there's more to the club. It's going to be a little bit heavier on the M3 versus the M4. You're about 40 swings in. 40 swings in, M3 or M4 real quick.
M4. I'm not feeling this one yet.
Well, let's adjust it a little bit and see if that changes anything for you. I tell you what, that's straighten your, yeah, it's not a draw, but it's straighten your slice right out.
Not as dramatic.
All right, so you just adjusted the M3. Now, what's your play, M3 or M4?
I think I'm leaning towards the M3. The fact that I can adjust those weights down to, try to get more of a draw at least. But I notice my miss hits, my slices aren't as dramatic because of the weights being shifted.
Right. The M4 has that little bit more built-in forgiveness. The M3 has that adjustability. This is why I said at the beginning, like no matter what, if you're between these, you can lean one way or the other based on what we're experiencing here. But you got to get out, hit them both. Before you're going to invest this much money in a driver, hit them both, adjust the M3 like we're doing, and then see which one's going to work for you.
See, look.
Yeah, you can see here the miss hit, but it brought it back towards center line. So, I mean, that's what it's designed to do, right?
Yeah, I like it. Want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
All right, so Frank is adjusting it the other way. You're going for a little more fade.
So I'm doing a little bit more of a center weighted with a little bit of a fade. Because this is so adjustable, I actually heard them say, theoretically, there's 13,000 different possible setups. Because all the different places you can put these weights. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be something in here for everybody. But I tell you, the other thing, we talked about this when we did the Cobra, it's still, other thing you want to do, I mean, these things come off the shelf with long shaft. You probably want to make sure you cut that down a little bit. I choke down just to make up the difference. Okay, so I don't know, worked up a little bit of a sweat.
I know.
It was nice to get a lot of cuts in with both of them. And then I think the most enlightening thing was going back and forth from one to the other. So hitting the M3 for a while, hitting the M4 just on its M3 on its stock settings, then hitting the M4, then switching back to the M3 and diving into the adjustability. I think the adjustability of the M3 brings it more in the zone of being a little bit, you know, forgiveness-wise, able to forgive if you're a little bit of a mid or higher handicap. I think right out of the box, the M4 offers plenty of forgiveness. At the end of the day, they're still tailor-made. They're still going to be, you know, excellent, awesome quality drivers. As far as technology goes, I mean, there's probably very few companies that put the amount of level of technology into new drivers as these guys do. So you're still getting the distance.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing we wanted to see was that forgivability. But what did you like about it?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's a pretty club. We talked about this with the Cobra. Again, pretty club. A lot of these manufacturers make very pretty drivers. So, you know, TaylorMade always knocks it out of the park with that. But, you know, with this adjustability, I mean, when I brought this, Frank put it back, but when I brought this down and tried to hit more of a draw with it, it actually took a lot of that slice off on my mishits, and I like that. I like that a lot.
And look, adjustability is nothing new. We've been chatting about this on the side, but what is new is, like I said, 13,000 different adjustability points because you're working now with 2 weight sliders, and you have that ability to slide not only the center of gravity front to back, but also for fade and draw. So you get, perfect example, you get 2 guys with totally different swings. Mike playing more of a slice, me playing more of a hook, and being able to work our way back towards center with that. So if you do pick up the M3, my suggestion would be to spend a lot of time up front getting those right because there are so many different positions and the slightest little change is gonna possibly make a bigger change out on the course. So work with it, take a range session or 2, bring that adjusting tool out there, adjust it till you get to where you want it to be. If you're going to end up going with the M4, like I said, a lot of forgiveness out of the box, a lot of distance because the hammerhead technology. Again, carbon fiber top makes it nice and light. We talked about the weight difference between the two, but again, we're talking about minimal amount. I mean, when you put them in your hands, it takes a lot. It's tough to feel it. It's more so when you feel that full speed swing, you do feel a little bit of a difference in speed, but not enough that, I mean, this could be player to player. I would not base it on weight alone because you're always going to do that when you have an adjustable club versus not. More so, I would hit them both, see which one is giving you the better flight path that you want. If you buy one off the rack, I would say if you're going to do anything fitting wise, it would be to get the shaft to your correct length. We talk about that all the time. You know, out of the box, they almost come always too long for your average golfer. But beyond that, solid club. I mean, I would put this in the running. You know, thinking about getting a new club, new driver this year. This is solidly in the running. So both of them. And I don't know, if you had to pick right now, if you were walking out of here with one, which one would it be?
I think I'm going to take the M3 just because of the success I had when I adjusted it.
And if it was me, I think I'd walk out with the M4.
Right,
It just
so
shows
let's
you
go
the difference. Yeah, no, but I think that just shows you the difference because I don't like to do too much adjusting. I think if I can find something out of the box that's weighted the way I want it to be weighted, that's going to be for me. But again, I don't think you can get hurt either way. I think they're both clubs that we can work for pretty much every range of handicap golfer. So, all right, that's it.